Hey guys, back once again. I'm back to answer Grecian Thunder's latest thread. Very cool questions, very quick questions, specifically on record collecting, not so much on music. And what I like about it, I don't have to pull out a bunch of records. I could probably answer these pretty quick, just off the top of my head. And so yeah, I figured I'd do it. I saw some great responses. So first question: how do you organize your records? Well, I organize my records by pretty much by genre. Now, it's not all worked out that way. It makes sense to me, but there's really not a ton of rhyme or reason to the whole thing. I'll just show you. Alright, so if you ever go back to my first video and I show my record collection, you can see that it's grown quite a bit since that time. Let me remove my daughter's little picture book here. So basically, yeah, by genre, and then chronologically. Now let me explain a little bit. First up, the first square here, I have my Neil Young, and that continues on to this square. And then I have more singer-songwriter stuff. There I have Nick Drake, Graham Nash, CSNY, or CSN, Tim Buckley, Elton John, Joni Mitchell, Simon and Garfunkel, Paul Simon, and things like that. So then I move over here, and here we have my Dylan collection here. And then it ends off with my Bruce Springsteen. So there's Dylan and Springsteen. So kind of the singer-songwriter area is on top here. And then over here, I have basically my jazz and I guess what you would call post-rock section. I don't have the biggest jazz collection in the world, but I know this lighting kind of sucks, but from here to about here is my jazz. I do have a few more down elsewhere, but in this I guess you would call my post-rock, doom rock. Also, Boris is in there as well. Electric Wizard, Explosions in the Sky. Then I have Sun, and then on my Earth records. So yeah, and then down here I have my krautrock, and then my prog rock. So I have King Crimson, McDonald and Giles, The Soft Machine, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Yes. And then I move on to Rush, and then Pink Floyd, and then over here a little bit of Jethro Tull, and then I go into my Stones collection, and then it's my Beatles collection, and then to kind of psychedelic rock. I have my Jimi Hendrix here, and then a little bit, I guess just a couple British rock records. This is a really cool record here. One of my first ones, actually. British Rock Volume 2. I love this record. I haven't listened to it in a while, but it's just a compilation. So you have everybody from the Beatles to Peter and Gordon, Dave Clark 5. And I'm getting a little bit off topic here. And it goes all the way through Van Morrison, and then it goes through Thunderclap Newman, Arthur Brown. Anyway, so yeah, a little bit of British rock there near the Beatles. And then I get into my psychedelic rock with Love, Donovan, Jefferson Airplane, Iron Butterfly, all that, and my Grateful Dead section here. Then I have the Woodstock, then I have Cream, Eric Clapton, and then the Kinks, and Black Sabbath, and then I get into like kind of a classic rock area. I see Boston, Guns N' Roses, Van Halen, Stevie Ray Vaughan, etc. And then down here, this section here, I basically start my punk collection. I started with garage rock, basically a few garage rock records, the Sonics, classic garage rock. But then I move into the Doors and the Velvet Underground, which this is kind of like the roots of punk, I would think. And then I go on from the Velvets to the Stooges to some New York punk, New York Dolls, Richard Hell, etc. Then I get into, you know, Bowie, and then the Ramones, and then the Clash, Sex Pistols. And over here, I start getting into more recent, I'm sorry, like 80s and 90s post-rock, grunge, hardcore, etc. And then I get into more modern things, Wilco, the Black Keys, Black Angels, etc. And then down here are just kind of a mishmash of some more kind of just beat up records. Not all beat up, but a few more beat up. There's the Police, My Steely Dan, and a few other just random kind of things. But then down here I still have a few piles I have to work in. Still have another whole row down here I gotta fill in. So I gotta clean those out and put these records away. That involves shifting everything, so yeah, I gotta work all these in, you know, a couple can records here, Noi, etc. I gotta fit those in there. So yeah, that's kind of how I organize my records. I mean, just makes sense to me, I suppose. But anyway, let's fix this light. Alright, where do I keep them? I keep them in here. It's a computer room, office. Unfortunately, I don't even have a turntable in here. I basically worked it out, so I'd rather have my stereo in an area where, in the house, my kitchen and family room is one really long open room, and I keep the stereo in there because I'm in there most of the time. My family's in there, and that's where I like to listen to records more. Plus, if I'm in the garage where I kind of hang out, the garage is kind of more my hangout area. I can hear the stereo perfectly with the door shut. So I would love to have a listening room, but it's just not possible right now. I'm sure at some point this is going to be somebody's bedroom, and when that happens, I don't know. The reason the records aren't out there is just for space and having a 16-month-old daughter running around. So I gotta kind of keep the records away a little bit. So yeah, this is where I keep them. It's just a spare bedroom office. There is a bed in here, but so eventually it'll be a bedroom if we have another kid. But yeah, someday I would like to, if we move from this house, I would like to have a room or a finished basement or somewhere that's climate controlled and have a listening room. But not at the moment. So I don't find it too difficult to grab a record and walk in the other room and put it on. And it helps me just stay organized. I need to get a bit more organized, but it helps me stay organized where I take a record out and then I put it back. So anyway, how do I shop for records? I shop for records just any way I can. Very rarely do I go to flea markets anymore or tag sales, but I'm not above that or anything. I definitely still will and probably will not. The weather's nicer. But mostly at shops nearby. There's two particular shops I go to. One more than the other because it's 5 minutes from my house, and they have a huge selection of new vinyl, which I like. So, but also I would probably say it's 60-40, 60% at the shops, 40% online. Just because online you can't beat the prices or the selection. You could find everything. So yeah, a mixture of mostly at the shops and then on the internet. Very little at flea markets. I find that it's hard to find those gems at flea markets and things. It doesn't happen as much. A lot of things are picked over and people are buying records again, so it's not as easy as it used to be. Anytime I've gone to a thrift shop, forget it. It's just garbage, beat up records. So yeah. Final question. How do I open them? There's no rhyme or reason basically to how I open them. I hate the shrink wrap, and I always take it off. I do still have a few older records with the shrink wrap on, which I probably will remove because I hate shrink wrap. I don't think it's wise to keep it on. I've seen mildew develop under shrink wrap. Like say this is shrink wrap. Any kind of moisture gets in there and stays in there, and mildew develops on the cover. And I've seen shrink wrap warp records, older records that I've bought that were still sealed, slightly warped, and I tend to think it's because of the shrink wrap, but there's a lot of debate on that topic. But basically,